This is Wandering Universe. Today, I'm going to explore an ancient ruin just outside the coastal region of Egypt. Uninhabited for thousands of years, when no one could claim it as their own, a nice handsome prince came along and kissed these sleeping beauties awake. This exploration is like reviving a lost fairy tale, beginning with an enchanting recital of improbable events leading to a blessed end. So, let's go exploring. Hello and welcome back. We are off to another adventure somewhere on this planet. Now, where we're going today, let me move this big blue marble around. Here we go. This is the area we're going to explore, somewhere in the Middle East. Now I'm going to go right in. We're going to explore not Egypt, that'll be for another video, but we're going to explore just off the coast outside of Egypt to Lebanon. I'm going to go in and see where we're going today within Lebanon. This is where we're going. It's called Baalbek. And what's in Baalbek, as you know, is the famous Baalbek stones. I know Damascus in Syria, and that borders off Lebanon. It's very difficult to get to the ancient ruins in Damascus. I'm not sure if they're still standing or not, but if anybody knows any further information about the ancient ruins in Damascus, please let me know. Last I checked, the ruins have been blasted through warfare between the US and Syria over an oil pipeline issue. I'm not sure if that's ended or not, or that is still continuing. What I've also noticed, apart from current modern politics, is these underwater land masses right here that are in conjunct with the coastal region of these countries, as you can see here along this smack bang in the middle Mediterranean Sea. Now, what I can see here, this is interesting. This is an underwater island, and yes, there are sunken ruins that still lay submerged here. I'm not sure what this is, but this looks like something very deep, something dug out. I don't know what it is, but it looks like some sort of carved cavity that has formed a canal that's opened up something. I'm not sure what it is, a road or some sort of tunnel there. So that'll be interesting to have a look. Now, without further ado, let's have a look at Baalbek, shall we? Alright, just to give you a little bit of information, a little bit of trivial information. This is Aleppo. It's not far from Aleppo, as you can see, where if you follow my arrow, it goes kind of diagonally from Aleppo to here. So it's not too far. And yes, there's an ancient ruin in Aleppo, a very interesting one that I'll talk about in a later video. Most of the area in Syria is basically, as you can see, very dry, rugged, barren, and scorched. There are scarred river systems that once flowed water underground and above ground that made this area, that allowed this landscape that was once many thousands of years ago very lush and green. So it flourished at that time, so it was very tropical, and also the climate was very warm. So we're going right into Baalbek here. As you can see, it's kind of nestled in a barren mountain range, and it's kind of nearby this river system right here. I think there's a dam on this river system here, but you can barely see through the satellite image a river or water or some sort of river flowing along it. So it would have flowed out, and well, it would have channeled water out to this area right here. Okay, so we're going to go right into Baalbek. And as you can see, it's nestled smack bang right in the middle of this township here. Now I'm just going to take you right in. It's pretty easy to find actually. If you have a very good eye for detail, you can really see where it is. There it is, right there. So here's the ruins. That's where the Sleeping Beauties lie. So as you can see, they're called, according to this name, it says Triaphon Stones. It's temporarily closed at the moment. I'm not sure why. If anybody knows about it, please let me know in the comment section. But as you can see, they're humongous, these stone blocks right here. They're so big, in fact, you can even see it with the naked eye from this satellite image. This is the actual quarry site that was once used to carve out these massive stones. I do believe, because it's only 900 meters away, I do believe that it was heading straight for this Palazzo site right here, Baalbek Temple, Jupiter and Bacchus. And right here is the Temple of Venus. So, a lot to explore in this area. That is the staircase entrance right here. And they are still exploring more ruins in circumference just outside the archaeological site, as you can see in this area, and I'll just go out a little bit. There is more in this area right here. So they're still exploring it, including over here. And there's still more ancient ruins yet to be explored just outside the 3 Sleeping Beauties. Right here, there are more ancient ruins that they're unearthing and discovering every year, including this area too. So a very interesting site to explore. What's interesting is that this is a hexagon, and these are square with a geometric layout. This is square, oblong, rectangular, and this has a staircase entrance to this hexagonal foyer right here. I do believe that there was a roof, a cornerstone roof, that covered that was placed on top of these ancient ruins right here, including the Bacchus Temple. But I do believe that this ancient ruin is far older than they estimated. And even though they say that it was built during the Roman Empire, well, I'm not sure about that. It seems like there's new evidence coming to light to say otherwise. I'm going to spin it around for you, so that way you get a nice view of how it looks from the air. Okay, so I'll just spin it around, and here we are. Enjoy. There you have it. That's what it looks like from the air. I'm just going to leave it as it is for your own viewing pleasure. And one day you might want to tempt yourself to go traveling to Lebanon to have a look at this beautiful and remarkable architectural brilliance of an ancient ruin. It's so sad that it looks as it is today. I wonder how it looked back in its ancient time. I think it was absolutely beautiful back then. Let's explore the Baalbek stones of this beautiful ancient wonder. Enjoy. The triumphant years of the Roman Empire brought forth new business to the capital, attracting big spenders with a whole lot of money just waiting to burn. A time where sea merchants, traders, and nomad walk-ins took their stock and headed to a bright light city in search of a golden opportunity to make it big. This glamourpuss city, known for its ingenious architecture, charmed its movie star beauty like standing alongside Marilyn Monroe. Baalbek. The Phoenicians called this city the top dog of stone building technology, and you can see why it was called that. Alexander the Great took a dislike to its tasteless name and renamed it Heliopolis. The city was covered in yellow limestone, and all you had to do was follow the yellow brick road for a meet and greet session with the ghost of Oz. People from all over had one ambition: to have their name embossed in stone on the Walk of Fame pavement. Baalbek was the golden real estate that shone endless luxury, like walking through a movie star mansion. An envisioned concept from property high rollers who took upon great risk on the aesthetics construction that ultimately paid off huge dividends. You cannot go wrong with its amazing layout of roads, streets, tall stone buildings, dome palaces, monoliths, square footholds, perfect decor, plazas with water features, colossal Corinthian columns, a square garden, a sophisticated aqueduct system, keystone arches, decorated ceilings that exemplified its grace and beauty, and above all, its world-class construction, the monoliths themselves. Baalbek City was the envy of the savage tribes and their impoverished settlements. Its magnificent construction had a calling card: the ginormous monoliths. A religious, commercial and strategic importance settlement that was voted the best livable city of its time. Like a mirage, it magically appeared at the right location that put a spell on newcomers' eyes, and whatever happens in Baalbek stays in Baalbek. In this video, I'll be examining certain characteristics along with its quirks that champions Baalbek's chef d'oeuvre, ancient ancestors. A challenging undertaking that requires both skill in sleuth and an eye for detail. So rather than give you the lowdown into its ancient past, let's crack this mystery wide open, exploring its ancient engineering that will keep you in suspense for more. This eye-catching building project created a property industry that kept many workers happily employed. The Temple of Jupiter, Temple of Bacchus, and the Temple of Venus, or Nymphaeum, all share a common ground for its machine-like precision foundation. At the Temple of Jupiter and Bacchus, these bases hold up the megaton weight of these long, leggy columns. The Temple of Venus, or Nymphaeum, was once a circular cellar with columns and a tetra-style porch fitted with a large dome. This is how it looked then. This is how it looks today. Archaeologists claim these Titan structures were built during the Roman Empire. Developers had a lot of money to burn. At 1,150 meters above sea level, all that is left from its former glory are these elegant columns and decorated cornices. In its time, they were impressive palaces on an ancient 5 million square foot platform. The Bacchus temple illustrates its straight and narrow columns. Not shy of its durable presence, these tall, smooth columns have endured the harshest weather conditions and environmental changes that made them almost indestructible. Its fragmented cornerstone shines its triangular form as you walk right through the grand foyer, glancing at the foundations buried underneath the 800 to 1,000 ton weight of this Palazzo of the Sun. Standing at 25 feet above the ground, the Palace of Jupiter exemplifies its competitive engineering. What makes this Palazzo so special are these trilithians. Each one is 19 metres long, 4.2 metres high, and 3.6 metres thick, and weighs around 750 to 800 tonnes. Whereas the Palazzo of Bacchus, the supporting stone layer beneath features a number of stones which weigh an estimated 350 tonnes and are 11 metres wide. These trilithians shoulder the weight of small rectangular stone blocks. At the bottom level, smaller stone blocks make the bulk of the foundation. Its ingenious construct surpasses our modern feats. Its in vogue approach gave rise to groundbreaking engineering. Square stone blocks form the base above it. Then, rectangle stone blocks do the heavy load. Then, these mega monoliths carry the weight above further smaller stone blocks shooting to the top. Notice the curbing inward motion along this wall. Not a design flaw, but act as runoff from heavy rain. But these are not the only mega blocks standing. There is a wall adjacent to it. These stacked megaliths are not there to be idolised. They act as water troughs skirting the circumference of the building. Although archaeologists claim the Phoenicians built this city, they didn't have the engineering skill set to develop a vast and complex geometric wonder proven at other locations. Baalbek has rocked our world once we set foot upon its architectural brilliance. Obviously, the town planning took a considerable amount of creativeness to make it a viable and functioning city. Yet these humongous stone blocks have left their mark unintentionally, hinting at an oversight. Let's have a listen to what these trilithians have to say.
So what is called a megalithic foundation? This is a series of large limestone blocks surrounding the base of the Temple of Jupiter from the north, the western, and the southern sides. On a three-dimensional reconstruction are all the Baalbek megaliths without the foundation and surrounding structures. Perhaps the eastern side also exists, but it's hidden under the Cyclopean staircase of the Temple of Jupiter. On the western side, on top of the megalith's base, there are three largest stones, so-called trilithons. The size of the trilithons is 20 meters long, about 5 meters wide and 4 meters high. The weight of each trilithon is about 800 tons. Unfortunately, neither photo nor video can convey the scope of this colossal structure, but the comparative dimensions can be seen and felt on a similar block, and the small blocks is about 9 meters, the weight from 250 to 400 tons. It should be noted that all the other blocks in the complex have much less weight and do not go beyond the boundaries of several tens of tons. Megaliths are based on a foundation of several rows of small blocks going into the ground. In the end, the blocks were supposed to be different from the rectangular shape, which we see in the three-dimensional reconstruction. In fact, only blocks under trilithons were processed this way. On the other walls, the work is still not finished.
An explorer like myself would take a lifetime poking and prodding around, looking for out-of-the-ordinary clues within the beltline. First impressions may count from afar, seen as just another ancient ruin like all the others, with lots of rubble and debris scattered everywhere. Apart from its aesthetic appeal, what made it worth my while is its construction. According to some amateur building sleuths, these megablocks did the job that all modern buildings and skyscrapers are obligated to do: hold its entire weight from the ground up. Yet not far from this dilapidated ruin is a monolith graveyard. Not far from the Palacios del Sol are these three ginormous Sleeping Beauties. Left abandoned for some unknown reason, they are a telltale sign that construction came to a grinding halt. These lovely lying ladies are the work of the finest stone cutting engineers that money will never buy. Each were categorized with an identification tag, just in case you got lost. They are the Forgotten Stone, the Stone of the Preggers, some weird fetish going on there, and the Stone of the South. For thousands of years, these gargantuan stone blocks were left forgotten and covered in sedimentation until Prince Charming came along, a German archaeologist in the late 1800s, revealed a breathtaking eye-opener. Back in the Roman Empire heyday, these stone blocks played a vital role in the development of a new industrial revolution: building construction. These megaton stone blocks were not fit for a weightlifter to win a gold medal at the Construction Olympics. The Forgotten Stone weighs at 1,650 tons, measured at 64 feet or 9.6 meters long, 6 meters wide or 20 feet wide, and at least 5.5 meters or 18 feet high. Its volume is enough to make modern steel cranes tremble at the sight of it. Whilst this stone block takes the prize for the heaviest of them all, the Stone of the South comes in second place. It weighs 1,242 tons, measured at 19.5 to 20.5 meters long, 4.34 to 4.56 meters wide, and it's 4.5 meters high. And coming in third place is the Stone of the Preggers, or in formal English, the Stone of the Pregnant Woman. This long, rather slender looking stone block weighs at 1,240 tons, measured at 20 meters by 20 meters long, 4 meters wide at the base, and 4.2 meters by 4.3 meters high. This stone block has the body shape of a coat hanger supermodel rather than a curvaceous body with a hump. Its mass weight is slightly less than the previous at 1,000 tons. Try lifting her off the ground to the emergency room. Many who surveyed these astonishing stone blocks suspect they never made it to the construction site. The nearby quarry is literally across the road, just 900 meters if you can walk it. Even more so, these blocks are made of hardy stone that can withstand the brutal elements along with its quirks shown in these photos. Large indented lumps, depressions, and holes left incomplete. Similar markings can be found on the Forgotten Stone, tucked right under that stone like a parent smothering its child. Left unfinished for no apparent reason, it resonates a unique approach to an advanced design concept.
a sign that Baalbek was far more than just a place to throw your weight and money around. It was a society of scientific ambition that reached new heights of superior engineering.
These mega monoliths were probably the final footholds ready for transportation to a nearby site. Whoever they were had a commitment to excellence and attention to detail. These beings were the champions of civil engineering. Although these weathered ruins remain surprisingly preserved in some parts, it seems like whoever they were left the area in a bit of a hurry. Odd tool markings seem to pop up on just about every scattered stone block. They also appear along the surface of the Trilithians. So, let's examine these peculiar markings.
On the megaliths of the base, there are a large number of square holes. There are also on the trilithons and the rocks in the quarry. Their purpose is unknown. Perhaps they were used for rigging or for scaffolding. On megaliths, traces of the instrument which they were cut down with are visible. It's something like a large pickaxe. On the northern side, the stones are very much damaged by the influence of the external environment, but on the southern side, the blocks remained underground and were excavated in the 20th century. And on this part of the foundation, one can consider an amazing and intriguing detail: how these megaliths are joined.
First of all, let's not get ahead of ourselves on the identity of the builders. I don't have high hopes leaning the likely cause our human ancestors were proficient in scientific principles and problem solving. It's pretty clear that the Trilithians and the Sleeping Beauties cannot be lifted, hauled and transported with modern construction machines, even if we tried. Sure, if in doubt, you'd immediately think wooden cranes, ropes and sleds alone would achieve the desired result we'd hope to expect. But before you debate me further, let's take a look at the tool markings chiselled along the Trilithian seams.
At the edges of the blocks there is a chamfer made in the form of several faces, and the shape of the chamfer is the same on both blocks. The facets are processed, almost with jewelry precision, and in some places even polished. The quality and accuracy of work can be seen at this notch in a fraction of a millimeter. The shape of the chamfer corresponds to the final shape of the blocks. It is clearly seen that the chamfer was made before joining, so that all the corners of one block perfectly matched the others. That is, the builders were interested not only in the accuracy of the joint itself, but also in the ideal position of not yet processed blocks relative to each other. On the northern side, the blocks are docked in a similar way, but the chamfer is virtually not preserved due to severe erosion. Trilithons weighing 800 tons are also docked precisely. The gap between the docks is fractions of a millimeter and is almost no longer visible from a few meters. Unfortunately, strong erosion on the stones does not allow us to say whether there was a similar chamfer or not.
Stonemasonry gave rise to civil engineering through trial and error, paved the way for advanced understandings of physics and mathematics, meaning our Paleolithic, Mesolithic and Neolithic human ancestors had no special interest in any geometric engineering. In all due respect, today, modern engineering have the capacity to complete a 100-story skyscraper within a few years, give or take, with the help of prefabricated reinforced concrete molds and slabs, along with other building products for assembly and erection. No pun intended. But the building blocks modern construction put together is only a fraction of its size compared to the megaton Trilithian stone blocks from yesteryear.
This superstar engineering is brought to you by these massive limestone monoliths. There is no comparison to these blocks that modern concrete construction can duplicate. These blocks weren't just left lying around like a freeloader Axel Heck watching TV on the couch. There is a story behind each of them. The digital layout is virtually out of sight, out of mind. Various construction methods formed the foundation prior to layering smaller stone blocks that helped coordinate the levelling of the Trilithians. The first Trilithians show a sleek curvature. The following layer displays eased edges tightly clamped without mortar or cement. Each layer comes in various sizes of stone blocks. The bottom layer are square blocks, the middle layer are slightly rectangular, towards the top layer several beveled blocks, and near the top layer are the Trilithians. Proceeding further are the small square blocks rising to brick-shaped blocks. For any bricklayer with an observant eye, this sight would blow them away by these hairline seams, compressed together, constricting airflow and water as a prevention measure of deterioration. The hairline cuts show an incise edge profile. Some are polished, some are coarse and uneven. The smaller beveled square blocks nearing the top makes up for its cosmetic appearance. This hallmark configuration became the edifice imitated on many medieval stone castles thousands of years after Baalbek.
Geometric precision was a mathematical fine art taken to the highest degree. The technology implemented was indeed ahead of its time. Even if modern construction techniques fine-tuned mechanisms to replicate its precision, it will always leave a margin of error. Although us humans take great pride in our modern engineering advancements, by comparison, we are still thousands of years behind the ancient beings. If you're still steadfast on your opinions, here is a video that will make your mind boggle over these humongous beauties.
The trilithons for this cyclopean construction can be seen in a quarry nearby, 1 kilometer west. These are two huge blocks, each weighing more than 1,000 tons. The blocks were cut out of rock in an inclined position. Most likely the limestone formation was located in this way and the strength of the block was maximum. Their weight exceeds the weight of the trilithons installed in the base, and most likely these are blanks that were supposed to acquire exact shape dimensions after transportation and finishing the installation on the podium. Recently, another blank was excavated for a giant block. It is possible that a blank for the fourth stone is visible under the existing stone. Perhaps there are still similar uncut workpieces. In other words, the scale of construction was truly industrial. The mysteries and the way which the trilithons were separated from the rocky base on the southern stone. The base is covered with garbage, and it's difficult to consider anything here. But on the northern trilithon, the bottom surface is clearly visible, but it's impossible to understand how the builders made such a flat bottom line. It can be assumed that the builders, having separated the block from the rock, carefully processed the lower surface of the trilithon and the rock base under it. But why they lowered the block to its original position and started processing the rock under it again, it is not clear. Perhaps a natural, almost perfectly flat crack in the rock was used, or the builders used an unknown method.
So, these leftover stone blocks were considered blanks, left abandoned due to unforeseen circumstances that forced construction to a grinding halt. Although these crafted ladies were prepared for transportation to the Palazzo of Jupiter, these humongous blocks do have one thing in common.
Holes. Square and round drilled holes penetrated just a few inches deep. These holes are seen on just about every stone block. They stick out like a sore thumb. Its usage is unknown. Some say water drainage, others believe dowels or notches. Meanwhile, the few alternative theorists say wedged conductor rods. A coin always has two sides. Some engineers argue that these stone blocks carry the signature of steel support rods. These rods accommodate precast panels vertically. Once the concrete mixture is poured into the ground, the walls stabilise into the foundation. The supporting rods are then removed, allowing the freestanding wall to balance unassisted. But curiosity has a clever way of working through a mystery. Trilithian technology is not unique to Baalbek. It's been franchised across several continents in Israel, Sri Lanka, Easter Island, Petra, Luxor, and Stonehenge. They are called mastercores, a stonemasonry term of foundation stabilisation beneath Trilithians, a manner that was systematically applied underneath the Temple Mount.
The moment the Phoenicians set foot on Baalbek, it was love at first sight. It's highly implausible to say Phoenicians, although life-skilled in maritime trade and sea life, were not proficient master builders. Baalbek was long abandoned after the arrival of the Phoenicians. Until now, no one truly knows who the mystery builders were. Let's look at a video that demonstrates their dexterous style.
It's assumed that this is how this complex looked in the Roman era. The diagram shows a hexagonal rotunda, a large courtyard with an altar, the Temple of Jupiter, from which only 6 giant columns remained, 19 meters tall, and many fragments with wonderful stone carvings. The Temple of Bacchus, which is considered to be the best preserved example of Roman architecture, its size is smaller than Jupiter's temple, but the height of the columns is approximately the same. And finally, the Temple of Venus, where tourists are not allowed, and from which little has remained. It is believed that almost everything was built, with the exception of the roof on the Temple of Jupiter.
Okay, this shows the ancient beings used their own technology to employ a remarkable result. The evidence is in the pudding. These stone blocks are a representation of who they were. Master builders of highly advanced engineering that no modern construction can unequivocally replicate.
The megalithic part of the foundation was built long before the Roman structures. This is especially noticeable in the northern part of the wall, where megalithic blocks are connected to the base of a large courtyard, built in the Roman era. This part of the complex was not protected from weather conditions, and it's clearly seen that the surface quality of the base block of the large courtyard is significantly different from the surface of the ancient megalith. It is noticeable that the edge of the block, on the left, was processed less accurately than the chamfer at the junctions of megaliths on the southern side, which we have already seen. The whole structure indicates that the huge and old blackened megaliths were built in small blocks during the construction of a large courtyard by the Romans. That is, it is possible that the megalithic foundation with trilithons existed before the Roman buildings and for some reason were not completed. This is also indicated by the fact that the megaliths of the northern side are located at the distance from the base of the Temple of Jupiter and are not involved in the project of the Romans. And it's quite obvious that the megalithic base was intended for the installation of trilithons on it, as it had already been done on the western wall. Perhaps here a giant megalithic podium was conceived for the construction of a structure more significant than the Temple of Jupiter. But there is one more circumstance. All the mentioned megalithic movements were single and did not require the exact connection of one megalith with another. And in Baalbek, this most difficult part of work was done. No one had done anything like that before, and there is no description of the technology. There are only speculative and very sketchy assumptions.
Let's take a step back for a moment. The entire complex took some real town planning to pull it off. Many of the ginormous stone blocks were moulded to fit people of immeasurable height, a construction requisite at the time. Today, it doesn't apply except to give us the illusion of who's the boss over us all. How do I know this?
Take a look at this photo. Notice the height of the people strolling past whilst admiring the ruins. How is it possible this plaza was modified to accommodate our human stature? It's pretty obvious that these ruins were not catered for our height. It made allowances for much taller beings. Yes, this photo displays a small doorway measured several feet higher than our current standard doorway. This doorway possibly opened to a narrow passage, tunneling to a subterranean chamber like manholes on a road. Every single stone block, whether square, cylindrical, round, oblong, and rectangular, were far greater than our modern concrete blocks. And every single one of them show meticulous square drilled holes. So, what was the purpose behind these unusual holes?
Let's assume for a moment that the height of the stone blocks were calculated to accommodate the height of far taller ancient beings. Modern engineering uses a standard calculation of building in proportion to the median human height. Therefore, it is possible that our ancient ancestors calculated these humongous stone blocks for no logical objective other than a show of power. I've also noticed decor motifs carved along these stone blocks.
Have a look at this. Do you see what I see? Seashells, crafted by a steady, patient hand. These seashells templates are ubiquitous and essential to simulate nautical living. This theme spoke of a time when ancient Baalbek was connected to the sea, an aqueduct system channeling water underneath subterranean tunnels that filled the canals where the Trilithians stand. This is an obvious engineered format. Whoever they were had vast knowledge of marine life and nautical living.
Geometric symbology is everywhere. You simply can't miss it. Archaeologists still can't make of its language, as they've barely scratched the surface. If you read in between the lines laced from permitted textbooks, you'd get a pretty good idea this place lived a very opulent yet frugal life without the desire to exploit their immense riches for the acquisition of power. Maybe we should have learned from their example rather than our egos calling the shots. So, let's compare these mega monoliths to this.
How did that conversation go between the priest of Jupiter, or whoever ordered the construction, and the architect go? What did he say? I need you to build me a temple and put 3 ultra megaliths at the 6th or 7th layer of the wall or somewhere in there. And then leave 3 more even bigger ones just lying around? I mean, it doesn't really matter if this was built by the Romans or another civilization. Even if this had been built yesterday, I would still ask the same question. Why put the largest carved stones at a seemingly random spot in the wall? So I don't know what the point of using those 3 stones was. If I had to guess what happened with the others, my guess would be that after placing the first 3, they realized the next 2 even larger stones they cut were just too large to move, and then they just gave up on finishing the 3rd one altogether.
Egypt, giant granite obelisks were made, moved and installed, weighing up to 300 tons. In the entire history of Egypt, there were made about 24 such large obelisks. In the quarries of Aswan, there is still an unfinished obelisk, which is considered to be the largest of the existing ones. Its weight is estimated at 1,500 or more tons. But most likely it's only a blank for the obelisk, which cracked during processing. The weight of the finished product would be significantly lower.
Is it possible these Sleeping Beauties were to be future obelisks? If so, what happened? No matter which way archaeologists look at it, it still resembles a large obelisk just like the one in Aswan, Egypt. Whilst I was snooping around, I happened to come across a tad bit of evidence they left behind.
These tool markings come from a meticulous instrument. These master builders didn't take shortcuts to do a half-assed job. Look closely at this photo. Compressed apart by a millimetre hairline, feathered strokes, done not by hammer and chisel, but by a machine. A diamond blade perhaps? Yet it is not done by so. Each line represents accelerated high-speed revolutions. Diamond blade cutting causes coarse scoured lines, yet these lines don't. Each stroke moves in a circular motion. Take a look at this photo. This ginormous Sleeping Beauty is taking a very long nap on a stone workshop bench. At an obtuse angle, simulating a slide, it may have facilitated hoisting the block, motioning it to a freestanding position. Obelisks back in the ancient world were a style feature, not a power-hungry centerpiece, but for something else. Notice in the background of this photo behind this Sleeping Beauty, nestled in the far rock wall are several undisturbed aggregates. This may give a vital clue to its sudden end from its factory assembly line.
Feeling gobsmacked? Don't be. It is hard to trust certain types of theories that lay claim our human ancestors did all the hard thinking. Although humans have a natural inkling to get credit for things we've never truly accomplished without prior knowledge and experience, there have been attempts in our modern history of weightlifting rocks, tried and tested by our trusty modern cranes.
Engineering experts experimented on several occasions hauling a 1,000-ton block off the ground using modern cranes, but to no avail. According to some archaeologists, they estimated that around 40,000 men moved most of the stone blocks, using nothing but the most advanced techniques for its time: wooden rollers, pulleys, sleds, ropes, weights, the typically convenient theory hijacked from medieval construction methods as a ruse for the archaeologists. They truly do not know what they're talking about. The Treasury's budget would have been a major blowout to farm and feed that many workers. Imagine if they did try to pull off this stunt. Well, one did. The infamous levitated mass sculpture, using nothing but mega steel cranes to haul this 340-ton granite rock from the quarry all the way to the LA Museum. Using nothing but mega steel cranes to haul this 340-ton granite rock from the quarry all the way to the LA Museum. It took 2 weeks to get to its destination. Today, it's possible, but back in the Paleolithic and Neolithic times, unlikely.
Baalbek undoubtedly was a town made for really tall people, brought on by the imagination of ingenious architects and interior designers who had a knack for style, beauty, and elegance. It encompassed many geometric qualities that surpasses our primitive techniques during the Neolithic, Mesolithic, and Paleolithic periods. Nothing compares it. Its style was not a fashion trend. It illuminated a sense of engineering excellence right down to the very detailed sculptured faces and hairline seams. Their motifs spoke of an alien language, a language that cannot be thoroughly interpreted with the use of conjugations or pronouns. Its exquisite craftsmanship was the embodiment of patient application from hard-earned knowledge. Today, the mystery builders of Baalbek will remain, or likely to remain, unknown.
As the old saying goes, Rome wasn't built in a day. The same goes with Baalbek, a tropical paradise brimming with life. A place where you can fall in love and never leave. An extravagant lifestyle that empowered inventors, rationalists, and philosophers of art, science, and music to think outside their ultra-comfort zone. It was the city that was the envy of Neolithic and Paleolithic settlements. Art was the language this stone city spoke, whether through its meticulous geometric engineering or the sculptures and decor motifs sprawled along stone blocks and walls. It spoke a time of peace and steady prosperity as the new norm. The ginormous Sleeping Beauties graveyard were once the pioneer of innovative construction, left to decay on the earth without a tear shed for their lonesome deaths. Even the graceful palazios of the sun that shone their colossal stands, silhouetted by the sunlight, are now just antiquated tombstones of a forgotten era. So what happened to Baalbek City? What went wrong? Was there an industrial action over a paid dispute? Did they go on strike for unfair dismissal? Or did the stone cutters simply drop what they were doing and walked off the job and never returned? One thing is for sure, our ancient ancestors were no experts on precision stone technology. We evolved with an instinctive, impatient mindset, impulsively looking out for numero uno prehistoric need, to be top dog of the universe. If our ancestors did learn to master stone cutting techniques, we wouldn't be today squandering our time arguing and fighting over political sides over who will take care of our well-being. Instead, we should learn what this ruin left behind, that time is the essence of life. We should go far beyond our instinctive program relying on top dog dictating our future. To open our minds to new and exciting possibilities without falling behind the times, and discover what we were in search of was always right in front of our noses. Peace of mind.
Exploring Baalbek is like exploring a delicious dish that warms your stomach with content. Yes, I have years of patience to go on a search for missing clues buried in the sands of time, but time and money is currently not on my side. But don't panic. As I said earlier, I will keep you up to date on videos that come to light on this subject. Time and patience is not my forte, but persistence and perseverance are my strengths to break down this stoic mystery that might leave you feeling a little unsettled. In the next video, I'll be exploring another ancient ruin on an island just west of the Italian peninsula. It's below ground and it contains a well of imagination that will deport you to another dimension. That's all for now.